All right, welcome everyone to our webinar, Winning the Battle in the Pandemic Box. My name is Adi Klevit, and I am a business consultant. I'm a process consultant. I specialize in process improvement, and the name of my business is Business Success Consulting Group. And we have Matt here. Matt, won't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Matt Rouse. I'm managing partner of Hook SEO Digital Marketing, and I'm also the author of Start Saying Yes and Flattening the Hamster Wheel.
Excellent. So some general information. So first of all, what I'd like you to do is to locate the chat box, which is located, you have a ruler down at the bottom of the screen, and there should say chat there. So if you can locate the chat box and just type something there, like a hello to us or anything you want to say, so we can see that you know. Great. Okay. Yes, we are getting some chats here. Excellent. Okay. There is also a Q&A box. It says questions and answers. So if you have a question for us throughout the webinar, go ahead and write it in the Q&A box so we can answer that and address it as we go or at the end of it. This is an interactive webinar, so if you have any questions, if you have any comments, go ahead and use those two boxes, the chat box and the Q&A, so you can let us know and you can answer. Also, we're going to ask you some questions so you can answer us. There's going to be a survey at the end, which we're going to send to you. So please take the time to give us feedback. And in the survey, there will be also a box where we will ask you if you'd like a free worksheet and a free consultation. And with that, our objective today is that you walk out of here with a knowledge of how email marketing works and what are the best techniques and best actions that you can take right now in order to take control of your marketing in terms of the email. And today's agenda. So the first thing is how to create an email list if you do not already have one, how to ensure that your emails are getting delivered and opened and read, how to win back the customers that haven't engaged with you for a while. And then we're also going to go over how to create a process that works for your email marketing. And with that, the first part of this webinar is going to be delivered by Matt. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Matt, and go ahead and share yours. Very good. And you're muted.
I'm muted when I put the thing off the screen to unmute myself, and then the space bar didn't work.
That's right.
All right.
So there you go.
So, winning the battle for the pandemic inbox, or as I also like to call it, how to do email marketing when no one wants to read your emails and they don't have time to read them between Netflix binges. So, and please stop sending COVID statements. People are tired of them. And, you know, if it's relevant to your business, that's fine, right? You know, I'm going to open up again, or, you know, whatever the message is. But, you know, nobody really cares if your, you know, email marketing analytics provider is doing about COVID. It's just not relevant. So stop sending those, please. But let's get right into it. So what I want to talk about is permission-based marketing. And some of you may be familiar with Seth Godin's a business writer. He's got 17 bestsellers and who knows, probably more by now. He talks about creating value through interaction is far more important than solving a consumer's problem in 30 seconds. And this is one of the biggest problems when people start email marketing, is they think that they need to send an email and get a result. And that's not what you need to do. Email marketing is a long-term strategy. It's about building relationships. It's about giving value over time and building trust. And then what will happen is you'll get way more in return later. So keep that in mind. Also, we want to talk a little about personalized marketing. This is Ryan Dice from a little billion-dollar company called Digital Marketer. There's no B2B or B2C anymore. It's all human-to-human interaction now. So it doesn't matter if you're talking to consumers or you're talking to a business audience or whoever that is. You want to be personable And people want to, they say people don't buy from brands, they buy from humans, right? So you want to be personal and have that personal connection. So this is the secret to email. Everybody asks me, what's the secret to email marketing? What's the secret to doing this? The secret is you create something that people want to hear from you. Then you ask them if they want that thing, and then you email them that thing. That's it. This is not a large, complicated process. What you have to do is from that permission marketing idea is get someone's permission to send them what they want to hear from you. That is different than what do I want to tell people. So there's a distinction there. And that you've got to draw that line and say, look, am I willing to find out what people want to hear from me and tell them what they want to hear versus just what I want to like broadcast or announce to the public. Now, if people aren't responding, if you're sending out marketing emails and they aren't responding to you, your emails are too boring. That is just the fact of the matter. So when I send out my emails, on average, I get between, I would say probably a maybe 2% or 3% response rate. That's not an open rate, like how many people opened it, and not a click-through rate of how many people clicked on something. That's a response rate. How many people wrote me back? Okay. If people aren't at least once in a while writing you back when you're sending your emails, then you're not sending the right emails. So that's kind of a yardstick you can use. So let's very quickly, we'll go over why you want to use email. You want to stay top of mind. You want to generate goodwill with your people. You can explain things like value proposition, what it is you have. You have this place where you can talk to people that's kind of unlike anything else you have, right? It's not kind of a quick hit like social media, and you're not trying to get someone to come and read your 17-page blog post, right? It's just kind of a quick hit, and you can articulate things by email that are more difficult to articulate through any other medium. And also, since the coronavirus pandemic has hit, sales effectiveness of email year over year are up. So people are actually spending more from email marketing than any other direct marketing channel. And in some sectors of the economy, like the direct food business, is up 419% from email marketing year over year. So if you can imagine the effectiveness of anything else going up 400% in a year, that's a big deal. So how to start a list if you don't have a list. So this is a kind of an interesting little graphic. Kind of looks like a peace sign. And I know some of the writing on there is a little small to read, so I'll point out what it is. This is companies who already have email lists. This is where did they get their emails from. So the kind of greenish yellow there is existing customers. The other big section is called lead magnets. And then the smaller blue one is events. And the other one is bought or scraped. That is where people have either bought an email list, and scraping it's a computer programming term. Scraping is like they used a piece of software to go to websites and gather all the emails that are on the websites, generally. And it's done a whole bunch of ways, but it's not important for today's discussion. Also, by the way, don't go scrape email addresses. Just saying. All right. So lead magnets are the one thing from that pie chart that you probably don't have right now, but also is the way that the majority of email addresses are collected. So if you don't have a list, I would, you want to sign up with a mail provider because you don't want to be sending from your personal mail account. There are literally hundreds of mail providers. An easy one to kind of get started with is Mailchimp because it's free up to 1,500 subscribers. It's pretty easy to get started. And what you want to do is take any existing customers or clients or vendors, anybody that you kind of have regular contact with or that you think will be okay with having contact with, and you can load those in, and then you want to send them an email asking them if they want to be on your list, because you want to get permission. Now, I'm not saying that companies should do this in every case. There are lots of companies who do things like e-commerce where they auto subscribe people and things like that. There's varying degrees of thought on those things. I'm not here to talk about the morality of how you subscribe people to email. I'm going to tell you legally what you can and can't do with email. So if you want to subscribe people, I always think it's best to ask them, honestly. It gets weird sometimes with, and I find this a lot with real estate agents and direct marketing people, is like they'll say, you know, hey, can I send you something on like social media or something? I'll be like, sure, shoot me an email. Here's my email address. And then they put me on their list. Well, I didn't ask to be put on your list, right? I was just that you said you wanted to send me something and now you're going to put me on your newsletter list. That's kind of insincere, you know, it's kind of a bait and switch. People don't like that. So don't do that. Okay. You want to be honest with people. Now, when you are going to put someone on your list, you want to be able to tell them, what are you going to send them? How often are you going to send things to them? And why should they want to be on your list? Okay. And I'll give you some examples of lead magnets in a minute, but these 4 points are super important. And if you want, you can write these down. We'll get the slides out to you after, but it's, why does somebody want to get email from you? What are you going to send them? How often are you going to send it to them? And are there other advantages to being on the list? And that is one that we'll go over also in a second. There's also online store signups. A lot of people have gone to online stores now, obviously, because, you know, people are in quarantine. They can't buy stuff. They can't run out to your shop. I did also, by the way, hear that Oregon is opening up retail on the 15th in most counties. But anyway, online store sign up. Everybody who checks out, you can have a little check button. And this is kind of my favorite way to do it, is you have a checkbox when they check out that says, you know, subscribe me to your list, or, you know, subscribe to get, you know, future deals and notifications about new products or something like that. And the box is automatically checked, and they can uncheck it when they go to sign out, because that makes it opt in. If you have to deal with something like the California Act, or I think it's California CARES Act, and then GDPR, sorry, excuse me, they have to check the box. So it's legislated that way. But anyways, I like to leave the box checked automatically for the United States and Canada. And when they check out, then you're going to send them a receipt for whatever it is that they purchased. But then you also want to send a welcome email. And the welcome email, anytime someone subscribes to your list, you should be sending a welcome email. The reason that you want to send a welcome email is you want to tell them what to expect. And also, it kind of gives people, you can like kind of say, this is what's going to be coming. And my company's email list, like if you go to hookseo.com, there's a thing at the box, a bar at the top of the website where you can just hit the button to sign up. You'll get a welcome email from us that has like a GIF of all the characters from the show Friends giving a big group hug. And it talks about how we're going to respect your time, what we're going to send you, what you can expect. And you always want to make sure you have an easy way for people to unsubscribe. Besides it being the law in the United States that you have an unsubscribe, also, you just want to make it easy for people to unsubscribe, and I'll tell you why in a minute. These are some examples. This is one of my favorites right here on the left, is grow enough food to feed a family of 4 in just 4 square feet of space, even if you don't have a yard. It's very specific of what you're going to get, right? They are going to send you something to tell you how to grow enough food to feed a family of 4 in 4 square feet of space, even if you don't have a yard. That's exceptional copywriting, by the way. But also on the right, do you want $10 off your first custom frame? Put your email address in. Super easy, right? You've seen this if you've gone online shopping just about anywhere. You've seen something pop up that'll say, do you want 10% off coupon? Just put your name in here, right? Put your name and your email in. It works for other stuff too. You can do stuff like quizzes and reports and entertainment. like which decade does your home actually belong in? That's like an example of a quiz. And then you would put your email address in to get the answers to the quiz. And my favorite one is the one on the right. What not to flush down the toilet. So that's a report that they'll give you to say, these are all the things that you shouldn't flush down the toilet that can affect your plumbing or, damage your home. So that's an interesting one, because a lot of people say, well, I'm a plumbing company. I can't make a list. I can't email market. I'm sure you can, right? Here's a perfect example. So here's a good one. Physical products, giving people physical products to sign up for your email list. This may sound like a bad idea at first, but this example right here with the hustle socks, the idea was you sign up for the list, and if you get 5 of your friends to sign up for the list, they will send you a pair of these socks. And they grew their list from about 50 or 60,000 to 300,000 the first 6 months that they started giving away the socks. Then they started adding other stuff to it, and another 6 months later, they grew their list over 1 million people. So if you have something like a physical product, if you can give people samples, free plus shipping is a good offer. The way free plus shipping works, I'll talk about in a second. You can have contests like for physical goods, right? Enter to win such and such. A lot of times you'll see these ones. They're like, put in your email address to enter to win like a $20 Starbucks card. Well, unless you're Starbucks, you shouldn't be giving away a Starbucks card. Give something away that's related to your business, right? If you can. I mean, it doesn't work for every industry, but you can add on to existing sales and stuff also. A good lead magnet one that I've seen before is get immediate access to clearance products that are up to 80% off. So the only way to shop clearance is to sign up for the mailing list, and then they send you a link to their clearance products. So that's an interesting one. I mentioned free plus shipping. The idea of free plus shipping is to give a product away that is inexpensive enough that you can add it to the average cost of shipping and then tell people that it's free. So if it costs you, say, $5 for a prepaid shipping envelope, $5.85 or whatever it is in the United States right now, and your product, you say you buy it at cost for, I don't know, $1.15, right? You can say, this product is $8 free plus shipping, right? So the product is free and you pay $8 shipping, and then you would actually make $1 every time somebody bought one. This is ours. So for my inbox mastery course, it says, learn who your customer is and how to talk to them. And it says people miss the mark with their emails because they don't know exactly who their customers are. So if you sign up for this, we will send you a customer avatar worksheet and the instructions on how to fill it out so you can figure out who your best customer is. So those are examples of a lead magnet. So just once again, quickly, what makes a good lead magnet? It has to be specific. It has to have one promise. You don't want to say, I'm going to tell you these 50 things. Just one is good, right? Maybe 2, but that's pushing it. You want to speak to the result that your customer is looking for. You want to kind of sell what the outcome is going to be. And it needs to be immediate gratification. So if somebody signs up for your list, they need to get whatever they signed up for now. So if it's, hey, I'm going to sign up and get 10% off, you can't send them the 10% off coupon next week. I mean, it's got to be immediate. And if it's something like a physical good, then you should be sending them something immediately also, like send them a receipt that says when it's going to be shipped or something like that. They need some kind of immediate gratification. Has to have real value. You can't give them a bunch of BS. And, it has to be something that can be used or read or consumed pretty quickly the first time because they don't want to spend a lot of time on it. What can you give people to sign up? So there's giveaways, contests, discounts, access. Access meaning like, if it was access to clearance product or special sales or whatever. Interesting things. It could be stuff related to your business, ebooks, products, bonuses, white papers, challenges, quizzes, swap files, cheat sheets. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And then talking about unsubscribe, this is Christopher Penn. He's big in the marketing world. This is the unsubscribe. That's the actual size of his unsubscribe in his emails. And it's animated, as you can see. The reason you want to unsubscribe is that when you have people on your list who don't want your emails, they don't open them, or they will just immediately delete them when they get them. And that gives a signal to their email provider that that email coming from you potentially could be spam. And if they keep deleting them, and lots of people keep deleting them, then all of your emails will, for that email provider, will start to go into the spam folder, or in some cases just won't be delivered at all. Always let people unsubscribe as easily as possible. Get them off your list. If somebody doesn't want to hear from them, you don't want them on your list. And that's why you'd want to make sure people unsubscribe. So you built a list. Now what are you going to do with your list, right? Just some quick hits here. There's your audience is an automated sales machine, right? You can do all kinds of things once you have a mailing list built. But some quick things that you could do. You want to talk about your brand, why it is you do what you do. If you need things, right? If you need staff, you have excess capacity, like you're a manufacturer, maybe you have a new product or service you want to tell people about, or if you're a manufacturer, service-based business, maybe there's a new process that you have. Process is an excellent example because we're going to talk about process today also, but it could be, what is the process for curbside pickup? What is the process for a virtual open house? What is the process to come into my clinic, right? So these are all types of processes that you could be sending out to your people through email. And there was just a study done last week where they surveyed 8,000 people, and 79% of those people said that they wanted to hear about changes in process to businesses. So exceptionally high. I was pretty surprised, honestly. But if you need referrals for things, you can ask your list. If you want to do partnerships, events, all kinds of stuff. You don't always got to be just like sell on the mailing list. So email deliverability, one of those things, we just talked about that a little bit when we're talking about unsubscribes. There's a new way that spam blocking is done. And I say new, but I mean new as in the last 5 years or so. When especially the larger providers like your Frontier, Comcast, Shaw, Yahoo, Google, like Gmail, Microsoft's Hotmail, Rocket Mail, all those kind of places, what they do is they'll get a batch of emails from your service provider, because mail service providers don't send all the mail out at once. Usually they send them out in batches of 1,000. So if you have 10,000 people on your list, it sends 1,000 batches of emails. They get a batch of emails in, their computer system analyzes it, and it says, does this look like malware or spam or viruses or stuff that people have marked as spam that they don't want repeatedly? And if it does, they just don't deliver it. They don't put it in the spam folder. They don't mark it in spam in the inbox. It just never shows up. So the person on your list who is in that batch of emails, they just never get your email. Okay. That's why deliverability is so important. There's things like spam reporting and blacklisting. Usually if you're using a reputable mailing provider like Mailchimp, Constant Contact, Klaviyo, Drip, Razzo, any of those places, they're going to have a good sender reputation, and that means they're not going to get blacklisted. But if you're just like shooting email out of your own mailbox, or you set up your own mailer, you go to some cheap mailer somewhere, right? They have a low reputation for spam. They could be blacklisted by some mail providers. And if they're blacklisted, that means the mail never gets delivered to them. There's also some other stuff. There's DNS-based protections that they wouldn't have, which is stuff like SPF, DMARC, DKIM. These are all stuff that you don't need to know. We can always explain them if you need to find out. The other thing you want to avoid is, I talked about scraping earlier, list buying. Do not buy email lists from companies who sell email lists. Don't do it. And the reason is that email providers put emails onto those lists to track who's bought lists. And if you've bought a list, they will ban your account. And they know, because they put these little like Trojan horse emails in there to check on you. Now, there's one way that you can buy a list. So if a company, right now there's a lot of companies that are honestly, they're going out of business. They may have assets that they want to liquidate, and one of those assets is their mailing list. So they could sell their mailing list to another company, as well as, just like probably everyone knows, when you sign up for a credit card or a store card or any of that kind of stuff, they sell your email address to a bunch of people. So you can buy lists that are not infected with these bad emails. But again, I would try to avoid it. Subject lines matter. They matter a lot. 69% of email recipients report email as spam based solely on the subject line. That means they haven't even read it yet. They just look at the subject line, they go, that's spam, right? So you want to make sure your subject lines are clear, that they say what it's about, or that they recognize your name as the sender, and they're not going to mark it as spam. Because if they don't get it, they can't read it, right? Avoid using excessive emojis. There's lots of stuff you can do in the subject line to keep it open. The other thing is there's a thing called the preview line, which is usually in your email. The left side will show what the title or the subject of the email was, and then kind of right below it or to the right of it, it'll say the first, maybe 100 characters of what's in the email. And you don't want it to say, to view this in your browser, click here, because that automatically means it's marketing email. So people automatically delete them or mark them as spam. So how do you write an email that people want to read? It's a good question. This is a funny name. It's called the greased chute. And this is a method of writing an email. And the idea behind it, the reason it's called greased chute is because chute is the word in the UK for like a slide, like a children's slide in a park or whatever. Anyways, you want people to start at the top and slide. And once they start sliding, they don't stop reading until they get to the bottom of the slide. So it has to be too good not to read, right? So you need something to get people kind of started down the slide, right? My last email I sent out, the first line of my email was, Crazy Mike was always drunk at work. That was the first line of my email. And then it goes into a story about this guy I used to work with who's this crazy salesman. And then later on, I kind of bring it around and I talk about like sales tactics and follow-up and stuff like that. The idea is you want to have a quick, short line at the top that tells people what the email is going to be about, and then another kind of short line to tell them some more. And then you want to use subheadings and photos to break up your text. And that keeps people reading. And then if you need to put a call to action in, or you want people to take an action, like buy something or check out something or whatever it is, you want to put that at the end. And you can also, if you're doing like e-commerce or something, just get to the point, right? 10% off all band instruments this week, right? We got a new lipstick color. It's called tomato, right? These are the things that you can do. Just super quick, get it rolling. Another kind of email is called indoctrination. I know that's usually a bad word, but you want to get people to know, like, and trust your band. You want to tell people why you do what you do, why you think it's important to you personally, and why you think it's important for others. It doesn't work for everything, right? Like, it's pretty rare you're going to be sending out an email and be like, man, I'm super passionate about selling vacuums. It's got to be honest, right? I mean, maybe you are super passionate about vacuums. I don't know, but I would say it's unlikely, right? You want your readers to be able to align yourself with your goals. It's also a good thing to do if it's like, if there is like charity or something you're going to go along with, so 10% of all our stuff is donated to whatever fund. Retail, you can do it quick. You use a template. You can connect it up to your store and it can automatically put the product in for you. And then you could just give a quick, write up about whatever it is and hit the send button, and you can do it super fast. And your emails can never be too long. They can only be too boring. And quick wins are kind of the best. So, keep it short, keep it quick. And the last thing I want to talk about quickly is win back campaigns. All you want to do is, if you're trying to get people to open your emails again, if they haven't opened them for a long time, then just put in information and entertainment and stuff that they want to see. Do not put any links. Don't put any emojis, little or no images, as simple as you can get. Don't use any templates. You just want to try and get those emails into their inbox again so that someone will open them and start reading them again. And then you can go back to sending them your regular emails. And we can talk more about that in Q&A if you want. And that's what I got. So Audie, I will bring it back to you.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks.
Great information. All right. So let's talk now about, now that you know how to create a marketing campaign, let's talk about why is it important to have a good defined process. Can you see my screen, Matt?
Yes.
Great. So why do we need a good process that is well defined? So processes basically give you uniformity. So every time that you are going to do an email marketing campaign, you're actually going to follow it step by step exactly the same way. Training, it allows you to train new employees or train your team on how to create that, in this case, the marketing campaign. It gives accountability. If you have a well-defined process, you know that those steps have to be done in a certain way at a certain due date, so you can actually hold your team accountable to make it happen, or hold yourself accountable to make it happen. And then you can also analyze what works and what doesn't work. So if part of the process will be to, let's say, record the names of the titles that you use for your marketing campaign, together with the open rate from your email software, then you can actually analyze what worked. But you have to have it, again, you have to make sure that it's organized and that you follow the steps in order to compare apples to apples. So you know that every single time you actually created, you follow the process, and then you can analyze the variables, which would be maybe the different header or different topic that you send it on, but you still have to follow the process in order to do the analysis. And then retain knowledge. So you invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of resources in terms of creating the knowledge. Let's say we take again the same example of the marketing campaign, the email marketing. You invest in the knowledge on how to create it. Let's say you have an employee that is no longer with the company or moved on, or now they got promoted and you are moving somebody else to create the marketing for you, or even yourself, you want to pass it on to somebody else. You want to make sure that it is all documented, and that's part of the knowledge transfer. And I'm going to give you now an example of how to create. So this is an example of how to create an email marketing campaign. This is for a newsletter, an email newsletter. So the first thing is you want to identify the goal. You want to identify what is it that you want to do here. And the goal here, I actually took this one for this project. It's from a book that Matt wrote about creating the processes. I mean, that's part of the book, is about creating a successful process and a successful plan for marketing. So in this case, we have a project, and we are identifying here that we want to create a newsletter. You want to send a newsletter to all of your existing customers. And then we take, once we have a plan, then we break it down to step by step. So here's an example that I created. This is in Asana. It's a project management software. So you want to identify what are the steps that you're going to repeat every single time, and then write them as I did here. So you have the writing the content, creating the newsletter, sending it, and then the follow-up that is needed. So if you have that, then you can duplicate it. You can basically create a duplicate of that particular project, assign it every single time you're creating a newsletter, assign due dates, assign the person that each task belongs to, and you follow up on it, and that obviously will give you the accountability because it is going to get done. So with that, now that you have the knowledge on how to create successful email marketing, what to do, what not to do, and also an idea of how to create a process based on that. So let's go over some questions. If you have any questions for us, please let us know. And we're going to answer those. So I think we have a question. I saw something coming in. Let me see here. All right. That's right. So Matt was saying to everybody, the name of his book is Flattening Their Hamster Wheel. Somebody asked him what's the name of the book. Okay, so there is another question here on the Q&A, and I think this question is for you, Matt. It's what's a good offer in terms of a lead magnet for a service industry?
So it's going to depend on what your service is, but generally what you want to do is have something that is a lead into other services that you have. So a good example would be like if you're an HVAC company where you do maybe air conditioning and furnace repair and that kind of stuff. It can be like 50% off your first maintenance check, right? And this is what we'll get you for $49. You're going to get, we'll check your furnace, we'll check your AC, we'll tell you how much life is left in your furnace. We can tell you which filter you need and if it needs to be changed and right? So you can also do, if you're a service business where people come to you, right? Like a good example would be dentists. You'll see this all the time. It'll be like, get your first cleaning for $99 or whatever, right? You'll get those in the mail and stuff all the time. There's no reason why you can't do that online and then collect the email addresses, right? And then you can have like a drip campaign where you would be, a drip campaign for anybody unfamiliar with the term is where you send multiple emails to someone after you collect it. So it could be the first day they're going to get a message, right? If they sign up, that's how do you book your cleaning? And how do you get started? And what do you need to know before you come into the office? And then maybe a couple days later, they'll send you an email. Here's how you can find out which dental insurance that we take. And then a couple days later, you'd have one. If you don't have dental insurance, we have our own in-store insurance that you could use. And, and this is how much it costs. And this is how you get started. This is how you get your kids to come in. And so drip campaigns are a good way to kind of slowly drip people information about it. And there's all kinds of service-based industries. I think a good example is to go to a large city like LA or New York, just through Google, right? Type in Los Angeles and whatever the service industry is, and then look at all of their websites until you find someone who has an offer that you like. And if that doesn't work, try New York or something, because usually in the very competitive larger cities, you'll find that people are using lead magnets and kind of more advanced tactics.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I think the person that asked us that question is actually a bookkeeper in terms of the service industry, like a lead magnet for a service industry. So in terms of bookkeeping, I would think that also it can be like you can have like a tip series, right? I mean, you can have like a certain tip series or an educational series that you can do, and you can use that as a lead magnet, right? They can sign up for a series of learn how to how to improve your cash flow and how to learn about different terms that you need to know as a business owner in terms of accounting. That's what
right. Could be a challenge, right? Those are good ones. Take the 7-day smoothie challenge, and they have a different smoothie that you send them every day for 7 days. And then that can lead into stuff like health coaching and nutrition or personal training, and so there's lots of challenges and stuff like that.
Good. Here we have another question here.
Sure.
So that answered that question. And so when do you look at the stats? For example, same day, 3 days, 1 week later?
So I usually look at the stats for my emails 24 hours after I send them. And the reason it's not just 1 day, but it's actually 24 hours is most mail providers won't allow you to send to people who haven't opened it unless it's been 24 hours already. And this is an amazing way to get more reach out of your email. And most email providers call it send to non-openers. And what that does is it will detect which people have opened and read your email and which haven't. And then you can send your email again to people who didn't open it. So that can take you from, in my case, my last email newsletter had kind of a low open rate, for us, about 18%. When we resent to non-openers, that went up to 36%. Okay. So we doubled our open rate by resending it.
Good. And that you can do with almost any email marketing
Yeah,
software,
usually you
right?
have to have a paid account.
Okay,
But I mean, our paid account on Mailchimp costs, I don't know, $15 or something. It's pretty cheap.
good. And I think one last question, unless you, if you have any other questions, please put it in the Q&A box. But we got one more to answer, which is, what is the optimal frequency of sending a newsletter via email?
So it really is going to depend on who your audience is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can test it. I like to send every week.
Okay.
For e-commerce, I like to send twice a week. That is also going to depend on the niche of your e-commerce store. There are businesses that send stuff literally every day, right? There's some people that go once a month. I know I don't want it to be too much of a wishy-washy answer, but it does depend on how often people are going to be able to hear from you, but it also depends how often can you create compelling content, right? So let's say you're an IT business. I mean, you should be able to come up with some kind of email scam that's going around, or malware problems, or software issues, or tricks and tips for using the computer or Windows or whatever, right? Like twice a week would not be out of the question there.
Right. That makes sense. And Amelia is asking us, what offer could a company selling IT solutions as a lead magnet?
Well, that was just like the example I just said, right? Tips and tricks are fantastic. Everybody wants to stay safe from viruses and scams and stuff like that. Those are good. You could do something like maybe a free dark web scan, right? Where you can check to see if their password and email have been compromised before in the past and are being resold to people so that they know what passwords they need to change. That's an excellent one. There's also, you could have some kind of a service like we can, take a look at the security in your office. We can look at what you're doing for your at-home workers. Maybe, we can see if there's a security problem there. We can check if you are vulnerable to something like encryption attacks. So there's all kinds of stuff that IT solutions can provide. I really like the dark web one, by the way, but that's my favorite.
Yeah. All right. So what about recruitment coaching company? So that's, again, it's another service industry. So what I find, I mean, I can answer that because, as a consultant, what I found successful is really creating a series of tips. Like, I used to have, I basically created I bring experts. Let's say I bring Matt on, and as a marketing tips, so I can send marketing tips to my clients or to prospective clients. I can definitely use my own knowledge in terms of like a tip about something, a tip series about something that they want to know in terms of recruitment. So what are some things that people can use, some data that they can use right away, some action items. So also maybe a white paper that they can download, or a worksheet that they can download in terms of like interview questions or things that they should ask in order to create a good job description. Something that is that can help. It's something that somebody can do it themselves, not too complicated, but that they want to then put their email address so you can actually give it back to them, right? I mean, it is like, for instance, like for lawyers, if they have something online, like a contract that you can download online, like a free sample of a contract or something, you have to do it within, obviously, the ethical and the perimeters of your industry. But for service industries, I definitely would recommend that. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And recruitment, another good one is like maybe like a downloadable about how to improve your LinkedIn profile. It could be if it's for, coaching is a pretty easy one. Usually coaching, you can just take any kind of 7 to 10 step program you have and say, get step 1, 2, and 3 here. And then you drip them step 1, 2, and 3. And then at the bottom, you tell them how to get step 4. And that could be, engaging with you, getting on a call.
And people also like assessments. I mean, we all do. We want to talk about ourselves. We want to assess ourselves, right? So if you have a short assessment that can actually then give somebody an insight about what the problem they are having, or rate. Let's say you are a sales consultant and you want to rate the sales of the company, and get then a result, like a graph of how you're doing. That can be an option as well. So there are definitely different ideas. So another question here is, what are the optimal open and click rates?
Optimal is kind of hard to say.
Right.
I mean, the optimal open rate would be 100%, but you're just not going to get that these days. I've looked at the industry-wide averages, and they honestly are what I would consider terrible. So, Jen, in the medical clinical space like you're in, I mean, the industry average is about 6%, which is high for an industry average. But if I had a 6% open rate on my emails, I mean, that would be a failure in my opinion. I mean, you should be at least at 10%. And if you're not, then there's a problem with either your deliverability, or every email you have is going to a spam folder. And that's when you want to do that kind of win back campaign idea that I kind of just very briefly talked about at the end, where you're sending people emails that are just text, or they might even be super short. It could be something like, I haven't heard from you in a while. I wanted to make sure you still wanted to be on, or you still wanted to hear from me. Your name, send it, right? You just want to get it in the inbox and get them to open it, right? So I'll give you an example. This is a perfect example. And Jen, I know that you know the person in this example because it was David D'Angelo that you're in the networking group with. So David D'Angelo, I did an email marketing course about a year and a half ago. And with the win back campaign, he took a picture of, I think his wife actually took the picture. It was a picture of one of their cars, because they sell, they're a car reseller, right? And it's D'Angelo Auto Sales. So they took a picture of a car. It was like kind of a cool picture. It was like at night. It was up on a hill, and there's like a nice view around it and stuff. And it just said something along the lines of, tonight would be a great night for a drive, kind of thing. But there's no links in it, no sales conversation in it, nothing about what we're selling, any of that. It was just that, right? And one of the guys wrote him back an email and was like, man, I haven't heard from you in like a year, right? Because all their emails are going into the spam folder. So as soon as they did that, it got them out and into the inbox. And of the people who responded saying that they hadn't heard from in a while, one of them bought a $35,000 car.
Wow.
So running a win back campaign, right, allowed them to get the email in the inbox. And then because they were getting into the inbox, people could hear from them again, and then they were able to sell to them.
That's great. Fantastic. Okay, I think those are all of the answers. I don't see any more questions. So thank you. And here I'm going, now the next step is we are going to send you a survey, and it's going to get emailed to you. And in the survey, there will be a box also to check if you'd like a free consultation with either myself or Matt. And then if you'd like these slides, let us know. And also we can give you a recording of the webinar. And with that, we would like, if you would like to reach us, this is how you can reach us. This is our emails right here. And we can send you that as well. And thank you very much thank you, Matt. It was great content, very informative, and I'm sure our audience can use it in order to improve or either start or improve their email campaigns and do really well. So we wish you all a lot of success, and
thanks,
we'll see you next time.
All right, see you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day and a great weekend. Stay safe out there.
Absolutely.